Hey everyone, my name is Clay and welcome back to the SCL. So today we're going to be looking at the new 3-rail O-scale Dreyfuss Hudson and 20th Century Limited passenger cars from Lionel. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. So the first thing we'll do is we'll talk about the history of the Hudsons themselves as well as 20th Century Limited, and then we'll talk about Lionel's rendition of the model. So overall, there were 275 Hudsons built from 1927 to 1938. The J1s were built from 1927 to 1931. The J2s were built from 1928 to 1931. And the J3s were built from 1937 to 1938. However, all were retired by 1957 and all were also scrapped. Hudson's numbers 5445 through 5454 was known as Super Hudsons because of modern upgrades and appliances that were given to these engines. The shrouding was done by Henry Dreyfuss, hence the name Dreyfuss Hudson. In 1938, Henry Dreyfuss was commissioned to design a new shrouding for the train to go along with the Art Deco movement of the 1930s, and it debuted on June 15th, 1938. The 20th Century Limited debuted in 1902 and made the journey from New York to Chicago in about 20 hours. In 1938, in the middle of the Art Deco movement, Henry Dreyfuss was commissioned by the New York Central to design a train set for the 20th Century Limited. The train would leave New York at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and arrive in Chicago at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. The Hudsons were eventually replaced in 1948 by AMD diesel locomotives. Lionel offered this version of the Dreyfuss Hudson in the 2023 Volume 1 catalog along with the passenger cars. Lionel offered a couple of different versions, also with different paint schemes, different tenders, different wheels. We had two with the box drivers, and the rest had the skull and disc drivers like you see here on number 5452. Lionel also offered 3 versions with the PT tender that also had the water scoop effect that the Niagaras had. The minimum required curve for the Dreyfuss is 0.72. Now it does say on Lionel's website that the normal tender is 0.60, but I can say from personal experience that it really does need 0.72 because it does want to kind of hop off the tracks a little bit when I run it on my 0.54 and 0.64 loops. It runs okay. It will sometimes jump off if I'm not too careful, but you'll see in the running video, it runs fine on 0.54 and 64. But for it to really run like it's supposed to, it really does need 0.72. So as we get a little bit closer here with the Dreyfuss, I really like the skull and disc drivers, the Gladiator helmet, as a lot of people call it up front, or the Trojan helmet. I've heard it called a couple of different things. Regardless of what it actually is called, I really like the streamlining. I like the stripes, how they continue into the rest of the train. And as we'll see later on, I really do like the lights that shine down upon the drivers. I also really like how Lionel included the drop plate here. It makes it look so much more prototypical, and it makes the gap between the tender and the engine look a whole lot better than it just being an empty gap. As we look above the engine here, the streamlining makes it look really clean. I like how it really looks. You have the pop-up valves here. You have the smoke unit here for both the whistle effect and the normal stack. And to load it as normal for a lot of locomotives, you just pour the smoke fluid directly down the main stack. And I also really like how Lionel is using the shrouding here to hide the switches. It's a little challenging to get into it sometimes, but I really like how they hid all the switches there. And you got your Bluetooth, your main smoke off and on, your run program, all the stuff you need to work with it. And I also like how they included the flaps here, that they didn't need to make them posable like this, but it's really cool that they added that feature. And of course, you got the real cold load here as well. So now that we've talked about the engine, let's move on to the cars. But before we do that, I do want to mention a gray colored elephant in the room. A lot of people have been talking about the color inconsistencies between the prototype and the models as well as the cars. Me personally, it really doesn't bother me all that much. I really enjoy the passenger car side and the streamline all of it part, but the color being ever so slightly off or completely wrong in some people's opinions really doesn't bother me all that much. What matters to me, and Zach over at Joker's Trains mentioned this video, you'll see a shot of his cars here in a minute. It really doesn't bother me all that much. But what matters to me is the colors match. And there may be a slight, ever so slight difference between the cars and the engine, but it really doesn't bother me all that much. But let me know what y'all think about the colors. I'd really be interested to see y'all's opinions on those as well. So as I said, Lionel offered 8 cars for this set, which is an amazing amount of passenger cars just off the rip for a train set. We have an RPO car, 4 passenger cars, and a diner car 2-pack, as well as an observation car. Now, you're not going to see all 8 cars in this video because I only ordered 6. I ordered the 4-pack and the 2-pack. I figured out of the 8 cars, those 2-packs would be the hardest to find after the fact. But I was also not counting on people not liking the colors of the set. So I figured at some point I will pick up the other 2 cars, but now that I know there might not be as much pressure as I thought initially on getting the cars, I will pick them up at some point in the near future. Maybe sometime, maybe in the middle of next year. So first here we have a set, as I said a minute ago, we have an RPO car, number 516 in the New York Central labeling there. And what I think is kind of cool is some are labeled as Pullman, like we have here, the Cascade Glory. And as far as the diners go, they are also labeled for the New York Central. You have number 680 and 681. Now the second car here is a Sounds car, and I'm going to clip in Zach's video here to show what it can do, because as y'all know, I'm still waiting on the base 3s to come in, so I can't quite take advantage of my models yet because I can't run Legacy to their fullest extent. But I asked Zach if I could borrow his video from his Instagram about the passenger freight announcements for the 20th Century Limited, so here it is.
Your attention, please. The 20th Century Limited is now boarding.
All aboard the 20th Century Limited. Time to board the 20th Century Limited. Here, I'll help you with that. Last call for the 20th Century Limited.
Ladies and gentlemen, the 20th Century Limited has arrived.
Wow, look at that locomotive! Ain't she a beauty? Isn't she, dear? And yes, she is.
All aboard the 20th Century Limited.
Hi, my name's Timmy.
Well, it's nice to meet you, Timmy. The 20th Century Limited is now departing.
So yeah, I'm kind of really excited to finally be able to do that, not just for this train, but for all of my legacy engines as well as my future engines or passenger cars, whatever I get that does eventually have sounds. So we'll move on from this car and we'll go to the next car, which is another passenger car, the Imperial Court, which is another Pullman car, and then last car on this particular set is the Pullman Manhattan Island car, and it has the drum head at the end, which I'll clip in here. These cars feature the Lionel kinematic coupler, which is a spring-loaded coupler which allows them to easily, or more easily rather, navigate tighter curves, which will allow the turn radius for these cars to be 0.54, which, as I said earlier, the Dreyfuss does require 0.72, but I've had zero issues running these cars around either one of my loops, so 0.54 is perfect for these. Now, I will say, sometimes on the tighter curves, you'll notice it in the videos, in the running sessions, where it will kind of pause for a little bit and then it'll jerk. That's the kinematic coupler doing its job. And I like to think of the passengers that I'm going to eventually add in. And side note, if you guys want me to do a video on how to add people to these cars whenever I get them, let me know. I'm thinking about detailing them on the inside in addition to adding passengers. So if that's something y'all would be interested in seeing on the channel, let me know. The diaphragms on the end here also have a little bit of give to them, just to help with the kinematic coupler and the collisions between cars. And the outer doors do not open, but the in-between doors do open. All right, let's start her up. All right, so as is pretty much standard on these Lionel legacy engines, this engine does feature the 5 bells and whistles. Although the whistles, the bells are pretty much, they're just the same bell, just tuned to a different pitch. So we'll just do the whistles in this one. Whistle number 1. Whistle number 2. Whistle number 3. Whistle number 4. And whistle number 5. All right, so let's go ahead and move her out.
Dispatcher, how's the track look? Am I clear? Over. Your route is lined. Good on cam signal indication. Out. Dispatcher, arrived and standing by. Over. Thanks there. Good run. Out.
And if you guys are looking for a good train community to join, not just the O-Scale community, but a model train group in general, consider joining the Miniature Models Podcast Discord. It used to be the Matt and Matt Podcast Discord group, but we recently changed our name. It's a really good community of people. There's always people sending chats. You can buy, sell trains. There's even voice chats for you to join. We're always on there. There's people always sending messages of pictures, and it's a really fun group to join. So if you're looking around for a group of people to join and just talk about trains, just enjoying the hobby in general, please consider joining us. I'll leave a link down below in the description to their website where you can listen to podcast episodes and find a link to the Discord in the show notes of the episodes. Anyways, guys, that's going to wrap it up for this one. I really enjoyed making this video for you guys, as I do all my videos. If you like the video, please consider liking the video. Leave a thumbs up. Leave a comment. Subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see y'all next time. Merry Christmas to y'all.